So I've gone from zero to about $30,000 a day by the age of 23 without selling any courses. Granted, I did used to sell courses in the past. If you go back on this YouTube channel, you'll see that I used to sell courses. I don't anymore. And the thing that actually makes me $30,000 a day as of right now is not from a course. I don't have any courses to sell. And I've done it without anything to do with AI or building a personal brand or any of the new hypey ways to make money online that you see out there as of right now. Now, by the way, I'm not saying AI is hypey in any way. I think it's here to stay, but I am the least technical person you could ever meet. You can hold me to that. So quite frankly, I'm very far behind in the AI world because I just don't understand half of it. Now, and in this video, I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm not going to preach in any way. All I'm going to do is just explain how I make my money and how I got from zero to about $30,000 a day without any, again, of the trendy stuff that you're seeing is being pushed by all of the online gurus as of right now in this space. So just one other thing before I jump in. I am not going to hype anything up. So if you think this sounds really boring and this sounds really difficult and it sounds like it's a lot of work, it's because it is. Again, I don't have a course, so I'm not going to try and make this sound sexy. It serves me in no way to make it sound sexier than actually what it is. I'll just tell you exactly my path from zero to $30,000 a day as of right now. And hopefully this time next year, I can say zero to $60,000 a day and so on and so forth. So to begin with, as I said, if you go back on this YouTube channel, you will see I used to post a ton. I quite frankly hate watching those old videos, but I made a ton of them. And at the time I had a course teaching people how to create their own e-com agency. And what I did was I had the smart idea. The course business that I had at the time was scalable and I really wanted to scale, but I also knew at the time YouTube as a vehicle, again, just me being naive and stupid, quite frankly, I thought YouTube also wasn't scalable. And quite frankly, I wasn't in control of the scale, and that's the thing that I didn't like. I don't think necessarily it was that I didn't think YouTube wouldn't scale. I wasn't in control, and you're not. If you're building a personal brand, you have organic of some sort, you're technically not in control over your growth each and every month. In other words, if you do more inputs or, make more videos or do more posts or whatever it is, it doesn't directly correlate to more sales calls. In my case, I have a service-based business, so I sell people over the phone into our service. So I needed to generate more sales calls to be able to do more business. If I made more YouTube videos, it may increase the volume of bookings that we got, but it would only be, number one, incrementally, unless we had a viral video, and you can tell by the channel, not good at making viral videos. And secondly, there was no direct input that I could make where I could tangibly say, if I do X, I'm going to get Y out of the system. And so in my mind, it made it very difficult to scale. And I still do believe that to this day. So I then transitioned to paid ads. I was like, okay, I need to run paid ads for this offer because obviously with paid ads, you are completely in control over your scale. If you spend more on ads, you make more money if the ads don't break at scale. And if they do, it's because your ads aren't good enough. So you're in control because you can just make the ads better, which allows you to make more money, right? Now, the problem was that I had a coaching offer, as I said. And so when I took that offer to the marketplace on ads, which bear in mind, people through the ad platform have no idea who you are. People who follow you know who you are. They follow you. That's the whole part of personal brand. And so the offer that I had at the time that I was selling to my personal brand, to my organic audience, it was a terrible offer. But the reason why people bought it was because they liked Kai. They liked me. And so I, again, naively thought, oh my gosh, I have a great offer. It works so well, etc. So I'm going to take this to paid ads and I'm going to scale it up and I'm going to make a ton of money. Lo and behold, you probably guessed it, I made nothing. I lost a ton of money. In fact, my close rate on cold traffic was 5%. It was abysmal. And what I realized was two things. Number one, my offer was just terrible. But more importantly, number two, nobody actually wanted what it is that I was selling. So in my front end ads, I was being quite ambiguous at the time. It was a done with you coaching offer, but I didn't imply it was done for you. But let's say I didn't say it was done with you. So everybody booked in a sales call. So my front end ad metrics actually looked really good. My cost per call was, I can't remember, it was close to around $100 maybe. It was very, very cheap. And so I was like, this is great. However, when I started taking the sales calls, which by the way, in the early days, this is a big misconception most people have, they try and hire a closer before they've validated their sales process. And there's a multitude of reasons as to why I personally believe that's a big no-no. But going back to the story, I was taking all the sales calls and I still would do that today if I was to go back. And on the sales calls, I very quickly realized, as I said, nobody wanted the actual product that it is that I was selling. Everybody wanted a done-for-you service, which at the time, basically, just so for some context, I was helping agency owners and coaches generate more sales calls by getting them or by helping them run paid ads. But again, the way I was helping them run paid ads was through the coaching offer. And what I found, as I said, with people who didn't know who we were, they didn't care for us. They had no affiliation to us. Those guys were just not interested in a coaching offer. They just wanted somebody to come in and do it for them. And so this was my first ever like really big and painful learning lesson, which was most people, from what I see, and this is what I did, they try and build a product that they want to deliver. They try and build a offer that they feel comfortable delivering. The problem with that is if you feel comfortable delivering it, that's great. But just because you feel comfortable doing it doesn't mean to say somebody else wants it. And so what I see so much is people try and take this offer or this fulfillment, this business that they want to run, and then they try and sell other people on either becoming a client of that business or wanting to buy that product, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in. And that's what I did, and I lost a ton of money. And as I said before, going back to the story, everybody wanted done for you. And I personally at the time really didn't want to build a done for you business. I wanted to be coaching. I thought it was more scalable. I thought it'd be easier for me to deliver, etc., etc. I really didn't want to be done for you. But it was so obvious to me that everybody wanted it that the lesson that I learned was instead of me trying to force onto the market the thing that I wanted to sell, instead it was so much more profitable for me to just see what the market wanted and then figure out how to deliver that. So in either instance, you've got a problem. There's two problems. In the first instance, you've got to try and get people to want to buy your thing. In the second instance, you've got to try and figure out how to deliver the thing the market actually wants. And again, from my experience, with my skills, and this is what I'm saying, I'm not saying you should do this in any way, it's just what I experienced. It was much easier for me, at least, to just figure out a way to deliver the thing the market already wanted and then sell that. Because once I was able to say, okay, we can do done for you, to the prospects who books in the sales call, everyone closed. And for context, when I had the original product that nobody wanted, I was closing at a 5% close rate. Horrific. And again, we lost a ton of money during that period. Now looking back, I realized I just paid, at the time it was probably 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, I can't remember exactly, but it was a lot of money at the time. But now I just think I just paid a 30 to 50 grand tuition fee to figure out the offer that was actually going to work. So it's not a loss, or at least I don't see it as a loss. Maybe that's just me trying to rationalize to myself to make me feel better. I don't know. But my point is, when I was trying to sell something that nobody wanted, my close rate was 5%. The day that I made the transition to selling the thing the market actually wanted, my sales skills didn't change. It was literally the next day. The only thing that changed was the thing I was presenting to the market, and immediately my close rate jumped to like 30 to 35%. And then once I improved my sales skills on the offer that people actually wanted, we ended up getting to like a 40% plus consistent close rate on cold traffic. And obviously that's when we then started to really scale. So that was my first big lesson. Instead of trying to figure out how to sell something nobody wants, it's much easier to sell something everybody wants and simply figure out how to deliver it. Now, of course, that process takes time because you can't just sell everything or sell something everybody wants and then have no way to fulfill. Like, you need to figure that out. But here is also where my next lesson came into play. So by this point, I was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 months in, 6 months in to the process of me, trying to figure out how to sell this offer that I had. And then obviously transitioning that over to the done for you deliverable. As I say, that process probably took me between 4 and 6 months to land on the offer that then actually started to convert. And so at that point, all that then I did was, because I had the paid ads acquisition system in place to where I could spend more money and I would get more sales calls and I would make more money back, I just then spent as much as I possibly could. I filled my calendar up with back to back to back to back sales calls every single day. And so then what I did was I split my days up, because I was in Australia. Most of the sales calls that we was generating were in like US time zone. I basically set my days 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. I just blocked out for sales calls. So in that 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. slot, about 6 hours, I just booked basically 6 sales calls every single day, because again, we had paid ads. So I just spent more to make sure I was full with 6 sales calls every single day. I constantly kept like reviewing my own sales calls and going through, and I was reading a lot of Oren Clef. If you've ever read any of his books, very, very good sales books. I was going through a lot of sales specific courses at the time. So I was taking my 6 calls every day. I would then review the 6 calls, try and figure out if I didn't make the close, why didn't I make the close? But bear in mind, this was also when I was already at, as I said before, 30, 40% close rate. I was still trying to figure out how can we close more? How can I just improve my sales skills overall? So I just kept going through that iteration feedback loop over and over and over again in the hours of 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then had lunch, went to the gym, and then basically like 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. ish, 5:30 p.m. in that time, I then just went all in and block those hours out for fulfillment specifically, because now we was closing all these clients. Obviously, we had to figure out how to fulfill for those clients. And again, this is where you'll see the same exact process that I applied to the sales, I applied to fulfillment. So in fulfillment, we had to figure out how to deliver the thing we was now selling everybody on. And so specifically what I was trying to figure out is a repeatable system to deliver client results. Now, just for some really quick context, what I was actually selling everybody on, remember I said, we was working with agencies and coaches, and we still do to this day. But what we were selling them on is running their Facebook ads to generate them more qualified sales calls. Because if you listen or speak to any agency or coach, most of the time, the thing they struggle with the most, at least the thing that's top of mind for them, is they need more qualified sales calls. So we ended up saying, okay, we'll basically just become an agency where we run your ads for you. And so when we were signing all of these clients, again, I was in the trenches as the founder. And this is the thing, most people nowadays, especially, they want to try and scale without doing any work. But believe it or not, at least in my experience, I had to work a lot, and I was heavily involved in every single operation that was happening at the company in the early days, right? And I ran that, and I was fully involved for as long as it took until we built a repeatable system to deliver the particular outcome we was trying to optimize for. So in the sales side of things, it was to, building a sales process, a sales script that I knew if implemented correctly, we would be at a, ideally for a closer to come in and close, I wanted them to be at 25 to 30% plus on live calls. So I just worked relentlessly to build a script that I knew, if implemented, would produce 25% or higher close rate. And it was the same thing with fulfillment. Before I hired anyone, I was in the trenches working with all of our existing client or initial clients. If you speak to any of our clients now who was with us back then, they will all tell you they would remember me daily in the Slack channels, daily in their ad accounts, figuring out, working with them to try and figure out what ad structures are going to work, what the best funnel is, etc., etc. And obviously our pricing was a lot cheaper at that time as well, which allowed us to be a little bit more messy. Whereas now we charge obviously a much more than we used to, but now we have all the proven systems in place and we know exactly what works, exactly what doesn't. So back then, as I said, 2 p.m. to about 6 p.m., 5:30 p.m., I was just in the trenches I had one kind of like VA type of person who was like helping me click buttons. He was doing the real basic stuff, but I was working with the client, setting the strategy. And really, again, I probably ran that playbook for the next 6 months. So we're talking like 12 months now from a standing start to where we're at, which is good sales process. We're signing consistent clients, and we're starting to now kind of figure out the fulfillment process. But again, keep in mind, the fulfillment process is nothing sexy. It's simply onboarding the client. Because we ran ads as our core deliverable for those clients, we needed to make sure that we had a really good offer in place for those clients. So we, on the onboarding call, again, we still do this to this day, we create the offer for the client, and then we wrote all of the ads. And in the early days, I was our copywriter. I was the one who wrote all the ads, all the VSL scripts, and then we got the client back then to record the ads and the VSLs themselves, like the raw assets, we got them to record themselves. And then I believe back then as well, we actually used to get the client to edit all of the creatives themselves, and we just had like a referral we would send the client to if they needed an editor. Whereas now we obviously have that as an in-house function, but that's what we did back then. And then once all the ad creatives were complete, I was the one who then took those ads, uploaded them into the ad account, and basically figured out what the media buying playbook was that I knew, again, if implemented by somebody else, was going to be able to produce the clients a cost per qualified call and ideally a CPA that was in KPI that they wanted and that was profitable for them based on their price point. And obviously then we could scale that up. And so at this point, we're talking 12 months in, and it was only now where then I started to hire people out. So the first person that I hired was actually a closer. What I find is most people hire fulfillment first, and then, they would keep hold of sales until they became constrained just on the sales, and then they would hire the sales. I basically did the complete inverse. So I just hired sales first, which when I say hired sales, I just hired a closer. But remember, because I'd figured out that proven sales script and sales process, that I now knew if I could get it to convert at, 30, 40%, then when a closer came in, they could at least hit 25%, which was our minimum KPI. Again, it still is to this day. And so as I said, I hired the closer, gave them that repeatable process, that repeatable framework that I'd figured out. And also, here's the other good thing, because I had gotten that repeatable system to a point to where it was 30, 40%, obviously I knew how to implement it. So then I was able to then manage that closer. And this is what most people don't do. They try and hire somebody before they've ever even done the thing themselves in the beginning. And the problem is first of all, it's extremely difficult to hire someone for a position that's completely unknown. Most of the time, what then happens is either two things. Number one, if you have the budget to pay that person a lot of money, then you can get somebody who's, very talented. The problem is most people just starting out don't have that type of money. So then they're forced to basically hire somebody who's interested with a low compensation connected to it. And normally the only person interested in that role role that's unvalidated and has low compensation is somebody who's not talented. And the problem is somebody would make that hire, the person would come on, the new hire would come on board, and they wouldn't work out. And then the founder in that instance is sat there scratching their head thinking, I can't hire sales, which is what a lot of people think, like, oh, closer can sell my offer. No one but me can sell my offer. Or same thing for fulfillment. Like, oh, I'm constrained on fulfillment because every time I hire someone for fulfillment, they don't work out. But what they fail to realize is the reason they don't work out is because the process itself is not validated and you don't manage them properly. You're not a good manager. That's the problem. And so going back to the story, when I hired the first closer, when they came on, I reviewed every single sales call and I gave them feedback on every single sales call. Because again, I knew how the sales calls needed to look and what the person needed to do to be able to close at 30 to 40% because I'd done it. So when I gave them the feedback, because they were the right hire, they took on board the feedback. They were coachable, they were malleable. So they took it on board. The next set of calls, they implemented the feedback. I then reviewed the next set of calls, gave them a couple more tweaks, and we kept that process going for, I think maybe it was 2 to 4 weeks potentially. Again, I can't remember exactly, but it was about, say, call it all in a month of that initial kind of ramp up period. We was going back and forth and back and forth. And then lo and behold, they then started to close at 25% without me involved. It was amazing. So then at that point, I was then able to take that 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. slot every day that I was spending on sales and now pour all of that into fulfillment. And the reason I hired sales first, then fulfillment, simply because I much prefer marketing essentially than sales. I don't like taking sales calls. I don't like speaking to people all day. I'm just not that person. So I much preferred marketing. So I kind of just wanted to focus on the area that I liked more. And it kind of lucky in that marketing was much more difficult to figure out. So I kind of had to spend more time. And it was also the thing that I like. So that helped as well. And so as I say, then I put basically all of my time and energy into building our fulfillment. And really, when I say building our fulfillment, going back to what I said at the start of the video, we don't do anything too sexy. We don't do anything like revolutionary. We definitely don't do anything revolutionary. All we do is a very basic deliverable, which is paid ads, very basic, a lot of copywriting, but again, it's nothing new, sexy, or anything like that. It's just a simple paid ads deliverable and all the ancillary services that come with that, which again is, for example, copywriting, funnel building, etc. We do that, but the reason we sign so many clients, number one, and they retain with us for so long, we have such a low monthly churn rate, is because we do paid ads better than anybody else. It's not because we have some sexy thing. It's just simply because we do what we do extremely well, and it serves a desire in the market. There's a market, which for us is agencies and coaches who desperately need more qualified sales calls. And so we have a service that, if implemented, if you become a client, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, if you become a client and we implement our service, you will get more qualified sales calls. And then when you start generating those sales calls, we now also one of the ancillary supports because we found historically when clients come on board, we get them great sales calls and then they can't close. So now we help them with the closing aspects. But quite frankly, my point with all of this is that we don't do anything revolutionary. We don't do anything sexy. It's just what we do. We do it very well and it solves a problem for a particular person. And our particular person just so happens to be agencies and coaches. But all of our clients, we see a similar thing. The clients who do the best with us, they're exactly the same as us. They don't necessarily have a sexy, revolutionary, new, deliverable or product or service or whatever. They just do something relatively basic, whether it be SEO, Google My Business, all paid ads, like Meta paid ads, or maybe they're a coach and they help somebody with a particular problem that they're facing, whatever that may be. Maybe they're not as skilled in a certain aspect of their life as they want to be. Maybe they're struggling with, we have a couple like wellness and health coaches. We have a couple others. We have one client who's an amazing client, but he helps his clients with this. I forgot the name of the musical instrument, but it's some really weird not weird, but strange musical instrument that I'd never heard of. But there's this whole market out there who want to improve at that instrument. And it just so happens to be, he's a world-class expert at it. And so he helps coach them get better at that skill, right? Like just the most boring businesses in the world, yet they make a ton of cash. And like I've just explained there, you can start them from zero and scale them up to, as I said, now we're doing just under 30,000 a day. And I would make this video probably this time next year. And hopefully by that point, we'll be at $60,000 a day and then $90,000 a day. But the way I got here was just very simply by learning a skill that I knew somebody else needed. I then figured out a way to sell them that skill as a service. And then I just got really, really good. Also, I keep saying I here. It's by no means all because of me. I also have an amazing team who a lot of them are significantly smarter than I am. But that is literally it. And now, because our clients are so happy, they get such great results, we get a lot of referrals come to us, and now we are starting to grow, which I think Hormozi calls this like the golden ratio, where you basically sign more referrals each month than you have churned clients. And so that's basically where we're at right now, which is why I know we're going to basically grow indefinitely into the future. And obviously we run ads, we spend hundreds of thousands a month on our own paid ads, and so that's just going to accelerate our growth. But that is literally it. No courses, no personal brand. Now I'm starting to do these videos because hopefully they'll be useful, and quite frankly, I just want to record them. But as I say, no coaching courses, no sexy AI stuff. I think eventually I'll have to, we'll have to introduce AI somewhere along the line. But my point is, you don't have to start with some very complex, like new sexy thing. If you just get good at a skill, you find somebody, if you just simply find a market who has a need and you figure out a way to fill that hole for them, and then you go out to the marketplace and say, hey, that big hole, that big problem you've got, I can just help you fix it. And in the beginning, this is something else I always recommend. Again, if I was to go back, I wouldn't charge upfront, because in the very, very beginning, when you don't have any client case studies or testimonials, it's very difficult to pitch a client and get them to pay you 5 or 10K upfront when you've got no proof to back up what you're telling them. And so in the beginning, you need to value the client result over the potential paycheck that you could get from that client. So in other words, if I start going out to the marketplace with a new offer I've got no results for, to back up any claims that I'm making, even if I know this thing is going to be extremely useful if you pay me, the problem is you're probably not going to pay me because I've got no proof to show you that it actually is going to be useful for you. So what's much better for me in that instance is to sell you for free, essentially. So you come on, you use my super valuable thing, and then you give me a testimonial, which I can then go and use that testimonial for the next client and actually now pitch that client a price point. I would still go a lot lower. Like I told you, that's how we got started. What we used to charge was about 1/3-ish, actually under 1/3 of what we now charge. So go, price yourself relatively low, get more clients at that price point, get even more results, better client results, get bigger case studies, go use those bigger case studies to justify a higher price point, and you kind of keep that process going. But like I say, in the beginning, you need to value the client result, the client case study, testimonial more than the price point, simply because it actually is worth more to you. Put it this way, if you go and try and pitch, say for example, 10 people in the beginning, you have no results, no client case studies, no proof of any kind, and you're trying to pitch somebody 3K to pay you, you're trying to get somebody to pay you 3K for a certain service that you're now offering. Out of those 10 people, I guarantee you, no one, if you don't have any results, no one will come on board as a client. However, we just change it a little bit. You still speak to the same 10 people, but instead of trying to pitch them 3K up front, if you now go, hey, I'll implement XYZ thing, whatever it is you're trying to sell, and if I get you X result, or if you want to be even more ambiguous, you can just simply say, if you are happy at the end of a defined period of time, I ask for you to pay me 3K. It will cost you 3K. But if you're not happy, or if you don't get this result, you don't have to pay me anything. And again, you don't have to pay me anything up until the point you get the result. That's very common. It's called a pay per result or pay on results. But if you now go pitch those same 10 people that offer, I also, maybe not guarantee this, but you will sign 2, 3, 4 on the low end of those 10 clients. And so of course now you've got 2, 3 or 4 clients that you can go and implement that super valuable service for, fill the gaps in their business or in their life or whatever it is that you help them do, get them results. All of those 2, 3 or 4 now will pay you the 3K, and you now have 2, 3 or 4 case studies in which you can now go to another set of 10 clients and go, hey, I got these results for these 2, 3 or 4 people. I'll do the exact same for you, and all it will cost you is 3K up front. The second set of 10 clients, you'll probably sign another 2, 3, 4 clients, all of which will pay you up front because you've got the proof, and you made 6, 9 or 12 grand in the case of you charging 3K of the first set of 10 clients. And so now all of a sudden you've just made a lot more money by virtue of selling your service for free in the beginning, and then just slowly incrementally increasing your price over time as you have more proof to justify the higher price point. So that is honestly, again, if I was to start again, that's exactly what I would do, partly because I basically did it. There's a couple of tweaks I would make throughout the journey, what pricing being one of them, but that's exactly what I would do if I was to start again. So again, like I said at the start of this video, by no means am I saying in this video you should go do XYZ. It's just simply, this is what I've done. It worked extremely well for us, and if I was to start again, that's what I would do. So you can take it and copy me, you can not do anything and stay where you are. That's cool by me as well. I don't gain either way. You do your thing, and hopefully though, I will see you in the next video.